Hi, my name is John Maxey, Director of Church Planning and Revitalization, and you are listening to a Mississippi Baptist Convention Board production.
All right, thanks for joining us again today on Around the Table, Mississippi Baptist. My name's Jon Martin. I'm here with Tanner Cade, and we have another special guest with us today, Cade Milner, who is the Executive Director of the Baptist Children's Village.
That's right.
What's your title, brother?
Executive Director. You got it exactly right, John.
Good deal. Glad you're here with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Baptist Children's Village and the ministry there. And but before we do that, I think Tanner has a couple things he wants to bring to the table.
Yeah, it's interesting how our calendar fell. I was just talking around the table here before we started hitting record that the beginning of the year was really busy for equipping events and training events. And it seems like we've slowed down a little bit, which is good because Easter season just happened. Now we're on Mother's Day. So I know May is a busy event season anyway as we go into the summer for churches. But just interesting enough, John, I don't know if we've had this in the calendar before, but there's a series of senior adult events in the middle of May. Yeah. So Discipleship Ministry has Senior Adult Refresh, and our Worship Ministries Department has a Senior Adult Choir Festival May 13th. And so that refresh for Dwayne Parker's department is the 8th and the 15th here in May. So you may want to jump on board with that. But we quickly jump into summer events. So Worship Ministry is active. Our camps get active at Garaway and Central Hills. Yep. And obviously you know about the SBC Fellowship that we like to see you at in Dallas if you're attending the Southern Baptist Convention in Dallas this summer. There's more information at mbcb.org/events. And don't forget your weekly email sign up at mbcb.org. At the top of the page, you can find a link to sign on for that. So we like to remind you of those things while you're listening to the podcast. And so how are things going? It's a Wednesday morning. How are you doing this morning, Cade?
I'm doing well. Thank y'all very much for having me.
Yeah.
Doing real well early this morning.
Is your calendar busy? Do you travel a good bit week to week?
I do. And this is the whole year is turning into a busy travel season. But I just got back from Senatobia, Mississippi last night, doing some things up there. I'll be going to Dallas next week to attend a conference there and then traveling to different churches around the state. And I really enjoy it, but it's a heavy travel schedule.
Yeah, that's good. I'm sure Mother's Day is always booked for Cade Milner.
Mother's Day is a busy time, and it's a good one. I love to get out and speak and get out to speak on Mother's Day.
Yeah, because Mother's Day is special for the Baptist Children's Village, and we're just talking a little bit of the history. You may want to go through that, but it's the emphasis for our churches to collect an offering that day to support our Baptist Children's Village.
That's correct. It's the Baptist campaign day to donate to the Baptist Children's Village. And historically, it's kind of interesting. The Giving Day used to be Thanksgiving. Yeah. Back before the 60s, it was always Thanksgiving. And then when Paul Nunnery was here, they transitioned that to Mother's Day because he came up with the idea of Christian Home Week. And so it's the whole week, really and truly. The campaign is the entire week before Mother's Day, and then culminating with the Mother's Day on Sunday gift.
Yeah, we were just looking at some of the resources you guys have available for that, and some cool videos and that sort of thing.
Yes. Everybody, if you would, just go to our website, bcvms.com or baptistchildrensvillage.com, and look at our videos. This year's video really educates everybody about the number of things that the Baptists do in the state of Mississippi, the number and just the different ministries that the Baptists provide at-risk children and families throughout the entire state. So it does a great job explaining everything that Baptists are involved in.
Yeah. So when you travel to churches, we have a lot of pastors, leaders that listen around the state. Well, are you just an advocate? You're advocating for BCV. What are you doing when you visit these churches most of the time?
It depends on what the pastor asks. Sometimes they ask me just, hey, would you come and preach the sermon? But most of the time, people want to hear about what's going on at the Children's Village. Yeah. And generally in a different church every week, and really enjoy this part of the job because I like to come in and give a word from the Bible, a word from God, but then tell them what they're doing around the state, how they really are engaged, and what all's happening. So that's a lot of what our Sunday sermons look like.
You know, it's another one of those pictures of cooperation. And I think we try our best to communicate from the Baptist building, right. You know, all of the places where churches have their hands in.
Exactly.
And you guys do as well. You try to communicate that as much as you can, but being there in front of those people and saying, this is your, I've heard you say this before,
right.
This is your Baptist Children's Village.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that's really why I like to get out there, because I want the church to understand that this is your ministry.
Yeah.
This is what y'all do. When that child accepts Christ down in Wiggins, Mississippi, that's your testimony. That we're not a parachurch organization on the side here that does good things and therefore you donate money to. That's not what's happening. What's happening is I see us as just one of the evangelical arms of all of the Baptist churches throughout the state.
Yeah.
And so I love to go tell people that, let them know this is what you're doing, this is what you're accomplishing. Here is your testimony.
So with one of those resources, and we'll link this in the podcast notes, you have a really good video that explains what the Baptist Children's Village is, and it talks about a Continuum of Care program.
That's it.
If I can say that correctly. And so can you explain just a summary of what that really means and what that is?
Sure. Our Continuum of Care, it really goes to people groups. And what we want the churches to understand and the people to understand is this. The Continuum of Care deals with we say that it is our vision that we, as part of the Mississippi Southern Baptist Church, take the good news of Jesus Christ to at-risk children and families. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's true, then who are those at-risk children and families? And so we ask that question, who are they and who are we missing, and how do we get to them? So the Continuum of Care surrounds the people needs group. So we have residential child care, and that surrounds those children who have to be removed from their home for whatever reason. But then there are also those children who are who have been in the roads and made bad decisions, and they're in prison. They're in youth detention facilities. So that's a group, and that is a people group that we reach out to, that the Baptists do. Then there are single moms with children who are trying everything they can, but they can't get ahead, and they end up we learned a new word, couch surfing, staying in homes just so that their children would have a place to sleep. Well, we've reached out to that group. We have a home for moms and a program for them to come into, and we help them get on their feet. We have a program in every county in the state, and they've done such a great job, where we send case managers into homes to find out what's the problem. How do we keep this family from being disrupted? How do we get them in the church and that kind of thing? So those are that's the continuum of care. When you think continuum of care, think the different people groups who are in need of hearing the gospel of Christ and having hope and a good foundation for their future. That's the continuum. That's who we're reaching out to.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I particularly love what you guys are doing in youth detention facilities. You know, I'm interested because a lot of pastors listen to this and they're dealing with, they're in a church maybe that the dynamics of the church are changing around them. Right. Kind of like the Baptist Children's Village experience, dynamics change, and so your focus changes.
That is right.
You create this, hey, what are the people groups we're trying to reach? Can you kind of talk about that process a little bit? When you guys looked around and thought, what do we need to be doing since the dynamics are changing around us? How did you come to this place?
Yeah, what we did, it was really looking at our vision. We're here to take the gospel to at-risk children and families. We decided, okay, well, how do we find out who we're missing? And what we did was we separated into teams. The leadership team separated, and we went around the state. We met in all the different parts of the state. We met with law enforcement. We met with school teachers. We met with school counselors and other social service agencies, and we simply asked them, who's falling through the cracks? Who are we missing? Who are the people groups or the individuals out there that are going unserved? And then we got all of those, and it was just a plethora, just all of them. And we got them, and we did a strategy sessions over a screening process over, okay, how do we get to them? How much is it going to cost? How are we going to do this? And that's where we came up with the first 4 big ones, the new ones that we went after, which was Residential Family Resource Referral Program, expanding our in-home family support program, the Youth Detention Intervention Program, and then the Single Moms Homes, the Family Residential Program. And that's where it came from, and that's how we got there. Now, there's still some others on the list that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, sure.
But this is what we've done over the past year.
Yeah.
Are there areas of the state, and I know just recently you got back from a gathering of other state convention groups similar to Baptist Children's Village. I believe y'all met in Florida, and so you probably maybe shared some ideas. But so I may have two questions that I'm getting to, but the uniqueness of opportunities you have here in Mississippi as opposed to other states, what are some uniqueness here in Mississippi? And then are there certain areas of the state or a focal area of the state that you're really focusing in on right now within Mississippi? So I kind of asked you two questions there.
Okay. The uniqueness question really is, and the conference you were talking about that I was just said is the Baptist Coalition for Children and Families.
Okay.
These are all the Baptist child care agencies from Southern Baptist child care agencies from around the country. We have some that aren't Southern Baptist. Homes of Hope down in Purvis, Mississippi has become a member, and then Chick-fil-A Windshape, they're also a member. But we get together once a year and talk about what we're doing, challenge one another, help in leadership models and things like that. But one of the fun things, my favorite thing is, all right, what are y'all doing? And for instance, our residential family program for single moms, there were other conventions around the state that were doing that. So it was very simple, and they're so generous, and they just gave us their information, and we just plagiarized everything. And good friend Rod Marshall, executive director in Alabama, just came over to our house, let us view theirs. Oklahoma, Stitch Ministries, and several of them, we just get to go in and view it. So that was unique to them, but now we're doing. But one of the things that I was really proud of us, nobody has a youth detention intervention program. We were able to really talk about that, and a lot of people started showing interest, asking us how we did that. So that's why those conferences are very good, but we have a very unique ministry there. And that ministry is not just us going into youth detention facility. Darren Bird is the director of that program, and what they really do, and the best part about it, is they're going to the churches in the areas that have a youth detention facility and training them up and getting the church inside these ministries. So that's very unique, and we really enjoy that. Taylor, I'm trying to remember the second question.
Well, areas of the state, one thing we enjoy about this podcast is that we do talk statewide. And we enjoy talking about the different dynamics we have at play. You have the coast, Gulf Coast area, Delta, and so ministry is different all across the state. So are there certain areas of the state right now that maybe you travel a lot? Are you focusing in more on a certain area of the state of maybe needs you have as a ministry right now?
Not
Maybe
really.
not.
Not really. The focus, of course, on youth detention intervention is where there are, youth detention.
That's right. Yeah.
And in our residential, in our in-home family support, we're now in every county. And so then in our normal child residential program, we have the 7 campuses around the state. Right now we're using 5 of those. So we kind of don't really focus in an area as much as we try to get in all areas to make sure that, hey, we're a voice. And with all of our relationship with the pastors throughout the state, so there may be a pastor over in the Delta and we don't have a presence there, but he knows. I love to explain to our pastors, we are your resource. We're here for you. So if you're struggling, call us. Let us help you. If you have a family down the road, if you have an issue in your church, something like that going on, please call on us. It doesn't matter where you are in the state. Now, where we serve them, we may have to get them to a place that we actually serve them. But there's not necessarily a particular area of the state that we're focusing on. Yeah.
So I think since the last time we talked, you guys opened the Waynesboro home for the single mothers. That's there. And in our team meeting every month, Dr. Parker tries to tell us good stories that are going on in the state. And a couple of months ago, he mentioned just a story from that experience there in Waynesboro. And so since we haven't really talked about that, can you kind of talk about what you're doing at the Waynesboro home now?
Sure. That's our family residential program. And what that is that's for single moms. They may have children, but they may just be pregnant. Both of those we consider a family. So in some of the referrals that we get on pregnant women come from, we partner with crisis pregnancy centers around the state. So we get referrals from them. And so what happens is the mom comes in, and if she has children, they come in with her. And then she enters a program to where, hey, we're going to talk about how to get a job, how to keep a job, do we need to finish an education here, how to parent. We're going to talk about financial responsibility and learn to be financially literate and how you do this. How do we buy a house? How do we buy a car? Those kind of things. How do we parent? How do we cook our meals? Those kind of things are all training that's going on inside inside that facility.
Yeah.
And the churches and the people in Waynesboro are just lovely, lovely, lovely. They're doing such a wonderful job supporting that ministry down in that area.
Yeah, it's so good. Again, I go back to the, looking around us and seeing the need and meeting the need. I mean, that's what you guys have done, right?
Right.
Let's see the need and let's meet the need. And I think that's what we're all called to do as believers. It's just a normal part of what it means to be a disciple of Christ, but you guys have done that really well.
Right.
Yeah, and what I love about this discussion is that, so I've been in Mississippi mainly in the Golden Triangle Associations, Pine Belt Association. John, you have different areas of the state. We joke that John's the country guy, I'm the city boy. But one thing I love is that I've been Baptist my whole life, but things like this are a continual reminder to me about our cooperative effort that John alluded to earlier, and how things are happening down the road and all across our state, as you mentioned, that ministries that we aren't necessarily familiar with or aware that what God's doing and what you're doing across the state. And so I know you're always looking for more volunteers, more help across the state. We just talked about Waynesboro and the churches in that area, but we know from talking to leaders that you're always battling with your church of trying to, what's your outreach focus, what's your outreach strategy. You're battling that inward week to week, not being an outreach church. You want to live outside your walls of the church. And so what is one area that, church down the road, Waynesboro, other places across the state, that they could get involved outside their walls to help with BCV?
Really get to know us. And I love to tell everybody this: come visit us. Come to a campus, come visit us. Let us talk to you. But just simply to understand that if you'll get involved with us, you're outside your walls. These are your ministries. Come see what it'll do. There were some churches. We have a home for mothers in Columbus, Mississippi. It's run by a partner, Columbia, Mississippi. And there were churches from that area that came together, and we said, hey, we have a need here. We need to put a pavilion up for these moms here. We need to fence in the children. And they just showed up and put the fences up and stuff like that. So also you can always go to our website, the campuses that we have. They have their needs lists listed on there, and we're always blessed when churches get involved. They come and see us, and they said, hey, we want to meet this need with the washer and the dryer. For all of our pastors out there, what we would really appreciate is, again, and AMSs getting involved in the missionary aspect, because we always looking for good house parents and those called out to come and be. So if anybody knows anyone who's just thinking God may be calling them to the mission field, but they can't go to another country, they can't go to any of those, if they would talk to them about.
And we call those Mississippi Baptist missionaries.
That is correct. That is correct. Our house parents are commissioned by this convention and by their home Baptist church as Baptist home missionaries.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just, I see on your phone, you got kind of some impact there. Can you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's worth sharing. Yeah. So can you kind of talk about the impact that Children's Village has on and families in our state?
Yeah, let me say this, because I just love, I was meeting with a group from Florida, the executive director from the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranch yesterday, and that's why we were up in Senatobia. She brought some people up because they were very interested in one of our ministries that we've been doing, but we're really fixing to formalize it at the end of this school year, and that's an independent living program. This is for those who are 18 and above, to really get them ready. So we were up there showing that to them. They were getting very interested in that, and so we were happy to share what was going on. But they asked me, they said, okay, so how many kids, what's the impact here? And there's two things. While we were looking at the apartments that we had up there that were prepared for them and everything that was going on, I was a good friend of mine, Greg Harper, who's a part of former congressman. He was with us because he works with the association known as CORE. And I just looked at Greg because he's a longtime Southern Baptist, and I said, every bit of this is possible. Because of the Baptists in the state of Mississippi. 100%. We don't take any money from the state or the federal government. They make this possible. And so these other agencies coming in, see what's going on here, impressed by it. So the impact is huge because it's the Baptists doing it. But to be specific in terms of numbers, last year I would want everybody to know that last year, as far as the number of children served through the Baptist Children's Village, we served 595 children.
Wow.
The number of adults that were served was 169 adults, and the number of families served was 165.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So those are the numbers that those dollars represent.
Yeah.
And the efforts that are put forward.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
good
great
stuff.
So going back to how we started, I mean, Mother's Day is a big giving day for you. So if a church wants to be involved with that effort this Mother's Day, how can they be involved in that?
We have sent out the packs. Hopefully you've gotten your package of Mother's Day information. If you haven't gotten that, please call Christelle there at our office, 601-922-2242. Let her know you would like to get that. We want to get that to you. Just show our video at the church, kind of build it up maybe a couple of weeks before Mother's Day to just remind everybody that Mother's Day is coming. This is our big push. This is one of our biggest campaigns through the year. We really count on this because we're on a fiscal year, and our fiscal year ends on June the 30th. So this is our big push before the end of the fiscal year. So help me out. Help me out, make that happen. And just remind everybody, we like to remind everybody that because of the tax credit bills that the legislature has been so good to us, and it allows people to subtract up to 1/2 of whatever their income tax liability, even corporations. And this is really good for the church because this doesn't take church money out of the offering plate of the churches, because this is money they're going to be given to the state anyway. So instead of giving it to the state, you can give half of that to us. So just remind them about that and have them think about that and let us help them get that done.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for being here with us today. Always a joy to see you and to celebrate what the Lord is doing through Mississippi Baptist Cooperation.
Thank y'all so much.
Hey,
I appreciate it.
I heard you like disc golf. You play disc golf? I do. One of your staff told us recently. So.
We'll have to go play sometime.
Yeah, that's right. You probably know all the courses on the state, right? So, thanks, Steve.
Mississippi Baptists, thank you for listening to today's episode. My name's Jon Martin, and I'm the Director of Church Planning and Revitalization. Our department exists to serve alongside cooperating churches, unifying and multiplying the local church by starting new plants and strengthening existing churches in fulfillment of the Great Commandment and the Great Commission. Our department covers church planning, church assessment, partnering with plants, and church revitalization. If you have any questions for our department, please email me at jmaxey@mbcb.org or call my office at 601-292-3225.